in technology allowed for smaller, faster, cheaper computers that could be more easily integrated into business and then homes. First personal computers were known as microcomputers, a term reflective of the microchip technology in use, and inclusive of desktop computers, video game consoles, and many types of handheld devices. But don't think these computers were anything like the computers of today. The 1975 MITS Altair is considered by many to be the first microcomputer. It ran at a speed of 2 megahertz and had up to 64 kilobytes of RAM, compared to the computers of today, which run up to 4 gigahertz and can contain more than a gig of RAM. Still, people thought MITS Altair was exciting, and within 3 months, more than 4,000 people had ordered it. IBM's first production PC, the IBM 5100, was also developed in 1975 and included a black and white display screen, keyboard, and a cassette tape drive for data storage. It contained up to 64 kilobytes of RAM. The Apple II, released in 1977, was the world's first large-scale production computer. Containing 48 kilobytes of RAM, it had the capability to further expand its memory, and later, an external 5/4-inch floppy disk drive for efficient data storage. It became popular with home users and businesses after the release of the first spreadsheet software, VisiCalc. The VisiCalc software is considered the application that turned the computer from a hobby for enthusiasts to a serious business tool.
It took a long time before computers could be marketed as something fun, like an iPod is today, but it first went to the business market, and then it went to the home business person. And once it was in the home, then the transition to entertainment was pretty quick.
Meanwhile, over at IBM, a group of designers were following up the IBM 5100 with another crack at the personal computer market. In 1981, IBM released the IBM PC. The PC stood for personal computer, and its popularity made IBM responsible for transforming a generic term into one that meant specifically an IBM-compatible computer. It ran at 4.77 megahertz and contained up to 640 kilobytes of RAM. It used cassette tape storage with optional 5/4-inch floppy disk storage. Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates said in 1981, 640 kilobytes ought to be enough for anybody. Less than 4 months after the release of the IBM PC, America's Time magazine named the computer Man of the Year.
You've got IBM machines and you've got Apple computers, and you've got a whole lot of smaller companies that we wouldn't even know the names of anymore, who all invented these PCs. And the same problem that you had with the mainframes of different operating languages and different programming languages started to happen with PCs. And it wasn't until the mid to late 1980s that IBM and Apple really emerged as the leaders in PC technology. And their operating systems weren't interchangeable, and you could either be an IBM PC operator or you could have an Apple. And it wasn't until very recently that you can actually use similar technology on both machines.
Computers continued to become faster and more powerful throughout the 1980s and 1990s. The 3 3/4-inch floppy disk took over from the 5 1/4-inch disk, and mouses and other pointing devices entered the market. Public access to the internet via the World Wide Web in the mid-90s made computers invaluable information tools, rather than tools for performing calculations. The multimedia revolution in the late 90s saw improvements in graphics, sound, video, and animation. Today, digital cameras, videos, iPods, and other devices commonly connect to computers.
Dial-up broadband internet has just changed the way we use computers. We see computers now as an information finding tool. And if you think about ENIAC, that first computer that came out of America, that was a calculating device. So we've got to move from, in 50, 60 years, from a calculating device to an information finding machine. And you could not have had that without broadband, ADSL, all of that cable technology, because the speed at which we can access information is completely different. So how we see computers is a tool that helps us get information and bring it to us and know that it's current.
But while computers are more accessible than in the past, they still remain in the realm of the privileged world.
I always like to remind people, while we're talking about that and how we're in a connected world, the very large percentage of the people on the earth would find it very difficult to have the funds or the access to make a telephone call. So we've actually got this huge division between the technologically empowered and those people who a computer is a long way away from what they could have. So we can't generalise about the whole of humankind. We can talk about the privileged ones of us who have access to this.
The first personal computers were known as microcomputers, a term reflective of their microchip technology. Initially popular with computer hobbyists, these microcomputers integrated into the business market with the release of the VisiCalc spreadsheet software. The popularity of the IBM PC meant the term PC began to refer only to IBM-compatible computers. Access to the World Wide Web in the 90s made computers an invaluable information resource, but not everyone in the world has access to computer technology.